Hey guys, and welcome to the channel. I'm sitting here with Fran from Murphy & Sons. Murphy & Sons do all the processes, cleaning, help, anything you want to know about really the chemistry and the goodness that can be in beer. You guys are the ones to speak to. Yeah, Fran, I've got some questions I want to ask you.
Okay, fire away.
And let's just see what we can do to help those brewers at home.
Okay.
Trying to figure out some maybe possible problems they got.
Okay.
All right. So first question I've got here is, what is a common mistake in water chemistry that brewers are often making?
Sometimes they use liquor treatments that they think are the correct dosage rates.
Okay.
Realistically, water can change twice a year.
Okay.
And so it's really important that they get their water tested frequently.
Okay.
I would say twice a year or
Yeah.
even more.
Okay.
Just to make sure that their calcium, their sulfate, their chloride levels are all, they
Yeah.
know that those levels are, so
Yeah.
that they can have the treatments accordingly.
Yeah.
If they don't know what their ionic levels are, there's no point actually putting liquor treatments in if you're in the unknown sort of thing. Yeah.
And those sort of, I know you can download from the local council your water and stuff like that, but would it be better to actually get it tested?
I personally agree that it should be, you get your water tested from an accredited lab like ourselves.
Yeah.
Water companies can actually give you out-of-date reports.
Oh, okay.
But also what they do as well is they do blend water and get it from different sources.
Yes.
So,
Okay. So
all they're trying to do, water companies are fantastic. They keep us alive. They provide us with potable water.
Yeah.
And all they need to do is send a report to us, to you, just to say it's safe.
Yeah.
They don't need to give you an up-to-date report. So it's really important to know what your ionic levels are now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So get it tested by a proper lab like yourselves, and get the proper information. Then I know you guys also give a kind of a baseline of what you want to try and achieve, different water profiles as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Water can change in seasons as well. So in the summer, the water can have some additional chloride in there. So
Okay.
I always recommend to brewers to always taste their water every morning before they brew.
All right.
Because that day when they taste it and it tastes different, they will know about it. So that will be an alarm bell to address it and make sure it's the same ionic level than what they used to.
Oh, that's some good advice.
Yes.
So, Fran, can brewers improve their beer clarity without filtration?
Oh yeah, I mean, we have processing aids for clarity. So we have 3 types. We have kettle findings, which separates the proteins at wort stage on cool down after boil. And then we have Super F or an isinglass, which separate the yeast after fermentation. And then we also have another product called auxiliary findings that separates the protein. All those things will encourage stability of the beer and create a longer shelf life for the beers.
And I know this is something we've done with you guys as well, as getting that kettle findings optimization.
Yes.
You can do tests yourself in your brewery and at home or whatever the case is, to go and try and get that, dial those kind of bits and pieces in.
So every brewer has a different recipe. Every brewer has different vessels, equipment. So everybody's dosage rate will be different.
Yeah. Okay.
It's really important that brewer gets the right rate. If they underfine, they're going to get haze. If they overfine, they may get fluffy sediment.
Okay.
So it's really important that they do an optimization, and we do that in cylinders in increments of 5 parts per million.
Yeah.
And we go on site to customers and we do that for them.
Okay.
The comparison, what we're looking for is a really compact bottom and a really clear wort.
Everybody loves a compact bottom.
They all love compact bottoms. They don't want the fluffy bottom.
Nobody wants a fluffy bottom.
We don't want a fluffy bottom. So we're trying to make sure that nobody has a fluffy bottom.
Yeah.
Recently, I've done a few where the brewers have been using last year's dosage rates because every season's malt is different.
Yeah.
And so every time you change season's malt recipe, you're meant to do this optimization.
Okay.
So quite a few brewers I've been to recently, they've been adding in at 50 parts per million using last year's rates.
Okay. No, it's just not working.
The common rate at the moment is 5 parts per million.
Okay.
So you can imagine how fluffy the bottoms have been.
Yeah.
And that's what's been causing their ongoing haze that year.
Okay. So it's just kind of constantly checking and making sure that you're actually putting the right amount.
Yeah, you're just constantly optimizing all those processing aids.
Yeah.
And we can help that with that anyway.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Awesome stuff. So next question I have here is, what is one of the most common problems in sanitation that brewers make?
I think the most common would be complacency.
Okay.
Brewers are very busy. They're busy fools. All they're doing is spinning plates all the time. And they've got to remember that they are cleaners that brew on the side.
Okay.
And sometimes other things can get in the way, staff issues, orders, sales, delivering beers, etc. Ullages, all these things get in the way.
Yeah.
They've just got to make sure that, number one priority is to keep the brewery clean.
Yeah.
Making sure that concentrations are right, the dosage rates are correct, the length of time of contact time is correct, and also inspections, making sure that they're inspecting after they've cleaned. If they have an inspection and it's not passed, start again with the cleaning.
Yeah. Okay. So to improve that, and obviously, like you said, everybody's busy, would there be any sort of tips or tricks that you could say that some brews that you've seen that actually works?
So if you could just write your own process of cleaning, and make sure that it's ticked every day with a date. My favourite is the cycle of cleaning. So the first thing I always suggest to brewers is, as soon as they finish brewing, rinse with water. That will remove 95% of the soil. If they don't do that and they wait the next day, that's going to be ingrained. So a lot more energy is going to be required to get rid of it. So then use a detergent, then rinse, make sure that the detergent's at the right dosage rates, and you're also using the right detergent for whatever soil you're using.
Makes
So
sense.
then rinse that, make sure it's rinsed off, and then always sanitize. We recommend peracetic acid. After the peracetic acid stage, do an inspection. There's bioluminescence devices out there. They measure the ATP content. That's like the presence of energy of living organisms. So they can use one of those, or they can do a physical check. But as I say, if that fails, then start again.
So next question I have is, are there signs that brewers will know that they have a problem in their brewery with infections or hygiene problems possibly?
Yes, so if the main one is, if you've got an infection, yeast will not perform as well. So you'll get stuck fermentations. There are other things like off flavours as well. Butyric acid. Tastes like baby sick. That's a sign that beer's not stored correctly. Products aren't stored correctly. It's a really good indicator for that. Wild yeast. Yeast that's not intended to be the yeast that you're brewing with can get into fermentation. Wild yeast tend to be airborne, and they're coming from, especially breweries that are in farm areas. So an off flavour for that is a TCP phenolic taste. And sometimes the wild yeast could actually, also because it's got a larger surface area, cause gushing when bottles are opened and things like that. So it's an indicator of that. So if you ever have any suspicions of that, always be suspicious of an infection. Because it's your livelihood, it's your beer. That golden nectar needs to be made for you to make money. And if you can't, then... So make sure that the infection is eradicated, and always be paranoid that you may have an infection. Invested in a microscope, for example. You can see so many microbes under a microscope. Or send it to us for PCR or direct plating.
And so I think the first point of call is to make sure that you're having a right cleaning and sanitizing kind of process. And then there are sort of ways that you can figure out from the beer itself that you're having problems.
And some off flavours, they will indicate the source of that problem, which is brilliant. But then also you can do like spot checks, downstream, from upstream, downstream, checking all points so you can find another source. And
then kind of, if there is a sort of suspicion and you want to kind of nail it down and send it to you guys and get it tested.
Totally.
All right. Fran, the last question I've got is, gluten in beer, it's always there because we're using malts and stuff. Is there a way to make, good gluten-free beer?
Yeah, totally. Just brew like you normally do, and add an enzyme. We've got one called dehaze, and it will break down the amino acid proline. And basically, that will reduce gluten and should reduce it down to what the permitted levels are for celiacs, which is 20 parts per million. It's advised that you can add this at wort stage, around 2 to 3 grams per hectolitre. Making sure that every batch that you brew you send a sample to an accredited lab and have it ELISA tested. And then that's where you'll get your result, whether it's 20 parts per million or over.
And with that dehaze, is there any other benefits with adding it to your beer?
It's really strange because dehaze was actually designed, and a similar enzyme that was used for reducing gluten was actually designed originally for chill haze prevention. So it breaks down the binding sites of polyphenols being formed together. And so it can increase your stability of your beer by about 6 months.
All right, well, that's kind of a double benefit.
Totally.
Making it gluten-free and shelf stability. So add it to your beer.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much, Fran, for answering those questions. And as always, guys, I think, that's it. Happy brewing.